Hi, Recovery Girls. I'm Kristin. I want to share a little bit about step 6 for partners of sex addicts. So, if you haven't already heard steps 1 through 5 for partners of sex addicts, go ahead and listen to those because these steps definitely go in order. Step 6 says we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So one thing that I think is really important to keep in mind in working the 12 steps, especially for a partner of a sex addict who has experienced betrayal trauma, is that we don't work these steps with a microscope and scrutiny and trying to catch ourselves where we're bad. The 12 steps can be used that way, but my encouragement and recommendation and the way that I've experienced the steps in my life is a gentle, loving process. When we're working 4 and 5, we're not just looking at our defects, we're looking at our assets as well. We're taking a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. We're noticing. We're not judging. We're not scrutinizing. I lived so much of my life with a negative, critical view of myself and of others, and believing God saw me with a negative and critical view. So a big part of my own spiritual growth has been being gentle and loving with myself the way that I believe my Heavenly Father really does see me and treat me. So as I am entirely ready to have God remove my defects, I am really celebrating the fact that it's not up to me to remove these defects. I am becoming entirely ready for God to remove them. Another thing to keep in mind about step 6 for partners of sex addicts is that every character defect that we have has served us in some way. At some point, if we've been traumatized by our partner's sexual acting out, we've probably launched into full-blown fear and panic mode out of a need to survive. And this is totally understandable. It's part of why partners of sex addicts need a lot of support and help and guidance early on after their discovery or after a disclosure. But when we're in a place where we're more calm and we're ready to start working steps like step 6, we can see, okay, where has fear or pride or other defects of character gotten in the way of me living a fully surrendered life, a life that is the best life God has for me. And so with gentleness and with self-compassion, we take a look at the character defects that we've still held on to because we've gotten something out of them. And we notice, what have I gotten out of letting fear be a huge part of my life? Well, this becomes confusing because for a partner of a sex addict, you have likely felt very unsafe after finding out about your partner's sexual betrayal. And so a lot of fear can get activated, and that's a normal response to a really scary situation. So at some point, I need to look at, where am I letting this fear be like on steroids or still control my life, instead of turning my life and my will over to the care of God, or becoming ready for Him to remove the fear because He's replacing it with something else. A lot of times fear or any character defect is covering up another asset, or it's creating a blockage for God to move more freely in our lives. So it's really exciting when we get to that place where we're entirely ready for God to remove the defect. It's really exciting to know I am not the one that has to get rid of this fear. Through the process of the 12 steps, I am becoming ready for God to remove it. And so again, doing all of this with compassion towards myself, gentleness, I'm doing it in a way where I'm noticing. I'm getting to know myself. And I'm doing it with the help of a sponsor, preferably in this case, another woman who's experienced being the partner of a sex addict, where she can give us validation and empathy and give us insight through her own experience into how that character defect probably served us well at a certain point in our journey. But when it's time for us to be ready for God to remove it, this is just one more step towards serenity. I'm so thankful I don't have to be on this recovery journey alone. I'm thankful that I'm on it with you.